Hi, and you're very welcome to the Final Whistle League of Ireland podcast here on finalwhistle.ie. My name is Breifne Earley, and for the next hour or so, I'm going to be joined by Alan Keane, formerly of Sligo Rovers, their record goal scorer in European competition. I'll have you know, you may have corrected me on that very, very recently. Alan, you're very welcome to the show 24 hours ahead of the return of European football to the show.
Yeah, absolutely. The buzz, like the phenomenon of playing in Europe and playing against a European side, and the buzz that it brings, albeit not many fans at the game, but over Ireland, all over Ireland, like you always look at the European games, and every player will tell you that has played in it. It's a great occasion.
We're going to be joined in a little while by another player with plenty of European experience as well. Conan Byrne, an absolute League of Ireland legend, is going to join us. We're probably not going to talk much football, though. We'll probably be talking more along the lines of his own career, his own initiatives that he was involved in time at UCD, Shelbourne, Sporting Fingal, St. Pat's, and more recently at Glenavon. Alan, we're going to fight through the results of the last 2 weekends because we didn't have a show last week for various reasons, but we are where we are, as they say. We'll start with the Premier Division results from the 2nd of July. Drogheda United 3, Harps 1, Derry City 2, Waterford 0, Bohs 3, St. Pat's 2, Shamrock Rovers 3, Dundalk 1, and Longford Town 0, Sligo Rovers 1, played on Saturday, the 3rd of July. And then last weekend, of course, European fixtures played. We'll talk about them in a bit more depth later on in the league, domestically in the Premier Division. Finn Harps 0, Waterford 1, St. Patrick's Athletic 1, Derry City 0, Longford Town 1, Drogheda United 1. Other games obviously called off because of those European games. In the first division as well, starting on the 2nd of July, Wanderers 2, Cove Ramblers 1, Shelbourne 1, 0, UCD 0, Galway United 2, Cork City 2, Treaty United 3, Wexford FC 4, at Lone Town 4. What a result there for two of the sides of the lower half of the first division, but 8 goals between them. And then last weekend, Cork City 2, Bray Wanderers 2, Cabinteely 0, at Lone Town 1, UCD 2, Wexford 1, Galway 2, Cove Ramblers 0, Treaty United and Shelbourne 1-1. The closest Shells have probably come to dropping a point or dropping a defeat on their record so far this year, still unbeaten in the first division. Alan, I suppose I'll come back to you on that. I said we did have a no-show last week. We're kind of under pressure for time this week with all the European action to get through. So any of those fixtures and results spring out at you from the last 2 weekends?
Oh, there has to be. The biggest one of the last, Waterford's win against Finn Harps. They have been on a roll now since the new man has taken over. So that was massive in terms of, I suppose, psychological for the likes of Finn Harps, who are now dragged into this relegation zone where we thought they were a good 11, 12 points clear at one stage. And now it's something like, is it 4 points? Yeah, so Waterford are on the up, Finn Harps on the down, and Longford are struggling, and it's going to be difficult for them. But look, it makes the league interesting. It just shows what a couple of wins can do for you.
Yeah, Longford will be disappointed, I suppose, the way the last 2 weeks have gone, given the fact that they managed to get a draw against Drogheda, a decent side last week, and yet they're still 2 points further behind the relegation spot above them.
Yeah, that's it. And it is difficult, and we spoke about this on the show a couple of weeks back. When you're down there, it is so hard. Confidence. When you win a game, you're buzzing. You go in the dressing room, you find out the team above you won as well, and you're like, it just knocks you back. And then you go in, you lose a game, and you see the team above you has won or drawn a game, and it's that kind of. It's difficult. It's difficult to explain, but it's hard. It's hard when you're down there to get out of it. And I just, like we said ages ago, Longford, look at. They've all heart, they've all thing, but they just don't have I suppose, the quality. We spoke about Waterford having a lot of young lads and a lot of things. I suppose a lot of things went on, but they seem to have got their act together. And I suppose with this new man in charge, and Finn Harps seem to be struggling now big time. So they've reeled in Finn Harps, and now Waterford are on the up, and Harps and Longford are struggling.
Well, let's not get quite carried away with ourselves yet. They're still 4 points behind and a fairly substantial goal difference margin as well. So Finnharp's not quite reeled in yet, but you can definitely say they've been on the hook. In terms of the first Shell seem to be running away with it. 9 points clear, only 12 games left in that competition. Can you see anybody catching them? Although Galway United seem to have come out of the blocks a bit like last season, a kind of a second half revival of their campaign after a disappointing start. They're now only 9 points behind and close on the leaders.
Yeah, seeing Shelbourne, Michael O'Connor scored in, what was it, the 60 or 72nd minute, and I said, Jesus, I thought it was going to finish a draw, and it was like they've nicked a win again, but a stunning strike at the death. And then Galway followed up with a great result against Cove Ramblers, the strong Cove Ramblers, a 2-0. And so, is it hard? It's going to be hard to see. It's going to be hard to see Shells being caught, like, you know. And it doesn't matter whether you finish second or finish sixth in the table, fifth in the table. The teams below, you just want to get into that playoff spots, because you look at how Galway United got into the playoff spots and they got on to play Longford, you know. It doesn't matter where you finish in it. Most teams in that first division will just want to get into the playoff spot, regardless what position they finish. But for Galway, they're going strong. You know, Treaty, like, we were surprised at them all throughout the year. Like, and as you said, at Lone were flying it. But it makes it's going to be one hell of a running, which, as we said lots of times in this show, finally the first division, it used to be, as they call it, the graveyard. Now it's one of the most exciting ones in the leagues.
Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that the run in both those divisions pans out, because there's plenty of places up for grabs. Of course, only 2 goals separating the top 3 sides in the Premier Division as well, because look at that table: Shamrock Rovers, Sligo Rovers, St. Patrick's Athletic, all on 38 points, albeit Sligo and Shamrock Rovers one game less played, and there's only a goal between each of the sides at the top 3. So plenty to play for in the Premier Division as well, of course. The reason for that extra game, of course, on both of those teams' rosters is we're both playing in Europe this week. Shamrock Rovers unfortunately crashed out of the I won't say crashed out, because they beat Slovan Bratislava on the night, just not enough to haul back a 2-goal deficit from the first leg. How good was that performance, though, on the night to win against what will be a very well-established mid-tier European side?
Yeah, like, it's hard to believe that they won 2-1, and it's a big disappointment. You know, like, we forget, like, we're the League of Ireland side, and you beat a good side, but you've gone out. And to say that to the Shamrock Rovers players, but you beat them. They won't be happy with that. But the consolation they can take from it, they've got a bye in the next round into the qualifying round of the Europa Conference or whatever. But what a performance, you know. And it's what's how hard to pronounce it. Wiz, is it, or what's his name? He was coming up against Laporte and all these only just a couple of weeks ago, you know. So they can be proud of themselves, and they put on a great performance. But they will be disappointed, because I did miss a majority of the game through work, but I didn't get to see. But there was complaints. Was there foul on Roberto Lopez in the build up to the goal or something? So they will feel aggrieved with that.
Yeah, I suppose everyone feels a bit aggrieved when things like that go against them, whether it's for their team or against their team. Tends to shade their view of things a little bit. But I suppose on the night, the positives out of it, Dundalk proceeded again, 2 wins for Dundalk in each leg, which does help the coefficient. That's 4 games and those 2 sides have played this year, 3 wins from 4. It's all coefficient points. It's all pushing Ireland further up that ranking table that will make it easier for playoff seeding in the future, and for more favourable draws in the future, which again, it's all about building momentum at European level.
Yeah, most definitely. And Dundalk, like we all know, Dundalk and their European exploits over the last couple of years, they're a good European side, you could nearly say now. But no, I watched their game. They totally destroyed them. They were way better. Dave McMillan broke the European record, and then they went over there yesterday, and Michael Duffy went and won 1-0. So I was expecting a bit more from the Welsh side, but especially with the way Dundalk have been struggling of late, I thought, look, this could be a bit of, be embarrassing losing to a Welsh side, because in years gone by, everyone would have been hoping for them draws. So great win. They're in the next round, and I'm sure Vinnie Pert will be delighted, because hopefully they can take that form into the league.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's hopefully they can do that, and I suppose to progress through. And it'd be great to see one of them make it through to the knockout stages. As you mentioned, get a bye in the next round of games. They're 2 ties from the group stage. Dundalk, as it stands, 3. Bohs and Sligo Rovers do battle later on. We'll talk about them in just a few moment. So maybe we might take a little bit of a break and have a chat with our guest this week. Needs no introduction to any fan of the League of Ireland over the last 15 years or so. An absolute legend, performed so well over the years. UCD, St. Pat's, Shells, Fingal, and then for a little spell more recently with Glenavon up north. Conan Byrne of St. Pat's joins us, of course, member of the team over there, formerly the Greatest League in the World podcast, now under Arena, their podcast, LOI Arena. Check that out as well. It's a fantastic show. Himself and Con get up to every week talking about everything that's going on in the League of Ireland. No more than we do here. We promote everything league related, and they're one of the highlights of my week most weeks. Alan, we'll jump over to our chat that we had earlier today with Conan Byrne. Conan Byrne, delighted to have you on the show. You're very welcome to the program.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me, lads.
It's been, I suppose, a while, and we've got a little bit of a bone to pick with you as well, Conan, because you're probably the genesis for, or at least half the genesis for this actual show existing. Yourself and Con used to listen to you week in, week out, loved the show, and then you went off the air, although you're back now. You came back to ruin the party when we started as well. You're welcome back to the world of podcasting and the League of Ireland.
Yeah, I suppose we had a little hiatus, I suppose, myself and Con, and we just got back up and running the start of this season. So yeah, but look, isn't it great to have so many that we can just listen to? And I'm delighted to see yours getting up and running, and the fact that you have an ex-player, a current player, and a Women's National League player as well. It's great to see. That's a bit of a USP that you guys have. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, Conan, I listen to your shows. They're actually great. And how good is it working with the likes of Con, who is, like, say, so experienced in that between TV and stuff like that? I know Breifne is top notch as well. Like,
Thanks, Alan.
But like,
Alan,
the two of you work really well. Like,
yeah, I can't underestimate how an influence that Con's had on me in terms of my very short media career to date. Just in terms of being in the studio with him when we were in, and seeing the homework that he does on people, our guests, his meticulous detail, just his homework that he does is just very infectious. So it's made me kind of row in behind him, and kind of keeps you on your feet. You never want to be caught short in terms of not knowing a certain player or certain questions that have to be asked. So yeah, I have to say now, being with the likes of Conor over the last 3-4 years has been really, really important to me.
Yeah, of course. Anyone who wants to catch the show can of course. Do you want to give us a little plug of where they can find it?
Yeah, just at LOI Arena on Twitter, and it's part of the Pundit Arena website. So yeah, we're out every Sunday evening and Tuesdays on Spotify. So yeah, thanks guys.
Excellent. Well, listen, I want to take us back a little bit, because obviously we had Jeremy McNally on last week's show. You're very familiar with Jeremy and everything that happens over in UCD. But I want to talk about maybe the period after you left UCD. You ended up at Sporting Fingal, but not just as a player. Can you tell us a little bit maybe about the role that you had there and what you brought to that role after your education role in UCD?
Yeah, so I suppose I was brought in firstly as a marketing executive, straight after basically leaving UCD. So my role was to get as much money into the club as possible. And it kind of helped when you had the likes of Jerry Gannon as the chairman, and he's giving you loads of contacts on who to call. And the guy, I'm basically ringing these people, and they're like, no, you're okay. We're not looking to sponsor anybody at the moment. And then your next line would be, well, Jerry Cannon gave me your number. Oh, okay. Well, what can we do for you? So it was an easy kind of job for me in that first year. But going on from that, then I became the community development manager at Sporting Fingal, and that was what I really enjoyed. You know, that's getting in the heart of the community and having that blank canvas, I suppose, that we could kind of get into the primary schools firstly, and then into the secondary schools, into the local clubs. We had a great affiliation with the NDSL. So it was all, it was brilliant. Everything was absolutely fantastic. And that started then a bit of charity work as well with a couple of the Foundation Trust, the Sporting Fingal Foundation Trust, where we set up a power wheelchair team, a Special Olympics team. I took a group to Zambia a couple of times. So yeah, it was a really wonderful time, and it was mad. It was, in terms of the growth of the club, it wasn't all about getting the bums on seats like you'd see at other clubs. It was about getting into the heart of the community. And we were doing that with late night soccer leagues in certain places around the county. So with a late night soccer league in Balbriggan, where the crime rate dropped significantly when that late night league was on. So we were doing a lot of work within the local community as well, that a lot of people mightn't have recognised, but it was very, very worthwhile.
And with that Fingal, obviously with Fingal going bust and all that, I presume everything went with it. Conan, did it? And have you seen the aftermath of that within the community? Like you said, the crime rates and all that kind of stuff. How much the football leagues has by Fingal going has affected that again?
Well, yeah, Alan. The only arm of Sporting Fingal that is still going is their Special Olympic team. That's the only arm that's left. There's no power wheelchair team. Those late night soccer leagues, they aren't going on. I think they did go on for a little while, but they didn't use the Sporting Fingal name, and they also didn't have any of the players there, because some players would be in attendance, which would always spark an interest among the local kids of the community. So yeah, I'm sure that the crime rate has gone back up to the normal levels that they were before those events. So yeah, it was, as I said, it was just something that was working really, really well, and it was just such a shame to see it all fall literally overnight.
Yeah, of course, on the field you had some success as well. I know Alan is absolutely dying to hear about your take on the 2009 Cup Final. Can you tell us about that?
I'm so happy you brought that up, Breifne. Oh, I'd say, Alan, I'd say you were counting your medals there in the last 10 minutes. You were happy days.
No, I have to thank you, because that was the start of our success. That loss.
Oh, you went on a run after that, but yeah, I couldn't believe it. Was firstly the penalty. I know there was a lot of debate surrounding it. I actually still think it was a penalty, even now looking back. I don't know what your take on it is, Alan.
I wanted to ask Alan Kelly there the last week, but I didn't get enough time that we interviewed him. But I look at it dead in the water. You can't change it now anyway.
Oh, you can't. He's the greatest referee in the world, that fella. But yeah, Collie James. Like, there's not many people that can put a ball past Kieran Kelly.
No.
And it needed to be a good one, and he actually was brilliant. And then in the last minute score, a goal to win a cup final. It was just incredible for such a small club. Like, I was working with the club. I'm from the area, and that feeling of when Gary O'Neill scored, it was probably the best feeling I've ever had on a football pitch. Because it's just a last minute winner. You know Sligo aren't going to come back. And yeah, you've done it. You're in Europe. It was our first taste of Europe club, and personally, it was my first taste in Europe as well. So it was huge, absolutely huge.
So after Fingal, Conan, was it St. Pat's you went to? Was it?
No, I went to Shelbourne for 2 years.
Yeah, and Shells, and then back to Pat's and back to Shells, was it?
That's right. Yeah, so I went to Shells.
You make that sound like he went 2 minutes at Pat's. He spent a couple of years at Pat's. He did all right at Pat's. If you haven't read his TV.
No. I'm trying, because he had success. I think you had success everywhere you went. Hadn't you?
Nice save.
Yeah, well, you bet us in the 2011 Cup Final, so that I was expecting you to kind of get back at me then, all right, in the penalty shootout. Right. But yeah, so that was a good year. It was kind of towards the end of it. It kind of fell away a little bit. Obviously, Graham Cummins scored a 94th minute goal to win the league for Cork, when all we needed was a draw. And then a week later, then we had the Cup Final against Sligo, and Kieran Kelly again was proved heroic. Great substitution in the 120th minute, bringing him on. And
don't say that. Clarky won't be happy. Clarky won't be happy.
He still brings it up to this day. So that was a great decision, though. He saved a lot of penalties, and I didn't even get a chance to take one. I was up next, so I'm kind of glad, because he probably would have saved it.
In terms, I suppose, of your career, and you've won competition, it has to be won in the league. You made the decision at the end. I suppose you dropped down to the first division. You won that, and then you made the decision to go to Glenavon. and leave the League of Ireland. Was that bittersweet, or was it just one of those things you had to do because of the circumstances of part-time football, having a day job as a teacher?
Yeah, look, there was a couple of reasons behind it. First of all, with the amount of part-time clubs now training 4 or 5 nights a week, you can't really call it part-time. But at the same time, the wages that they're handing out are part-time wages. So you're doing a lot of training away from the family for very little reward. So it was a case of either going to retire then or try a little something different. And I played 15 years in the League of Ireland, so I said, look, why not try up north? So when Gary Hamilton rang me, I said, yeah, sure, let's try for 6 months. And he goes, no, I don't really want to sign you for 6 months. It's either 18 or nothing. So I said, look, I'll go for the 18 months then and see how it goes. And I absolutely loved it. I didn't play probably as much as I would have liked, but in terms of a new environment, new challenge out of my comfort zone, it was great. It was really, really great. And the club itself were absolutely superb throughout COVID. Never missed a payment, never missed a wage, was always on time. Can't be said for a lot of the other clubs up there. So it was, yeah, I landed on my feet with Glenavon. They were really, really good and really looked after me. So it was a wonderful time. And obviously we got to the playoff semi-finals, and we were beaten by again a 94th minute winner by Larne in the semi-final to miss out on that Europa League Conference playoff, Europa Conference playoff. Sorry.
Yeah, Conan, I'm going to talk to you about, I suppose it still involves in football, but the phenomenal thing that you done last year during COVID, I think that was just absolutely exceptional. Like, you know, you brought the whole League of Ireland people together, you brought the spirits up. What made you come about that, or was it you just at home and you just decided you wanted to do this? And because even there's people still talking like that was just getting calls from players and getting calls from ex-players was just exceptional. Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, I actually was sitting down watching telly with my good lady here, and we were watching David Brady, actually, the former Mayo footballer. I know that's probably going to bit of touching your heartstrings there, Alan. I know you're that's not your favourite county at the moment, but
Definitely after the week we've had at the hands of Mayo, I refuse to talk about it.
Oh, you're touching on his nerves there.
But no, he was talking on, I think it was Claire Byrne, and he was saying that every I can't remember exact details, but I think it was once a month he would contact people from his local area that wanted to just have a chat that were struggling during lockdown. And it just came into my head. I was like, well, why can't the League of Ireland do it? We might do it at a big level. Now, being completely honest, I certainly wasn't expecting the reaction that it got. I had over 200, between 150 and 200 players, managers, coaches, ex-players, all touching base saying, look, I'll do this, no problem. But then the reaction from the other people, it started out being a thing for a call to the elderly, but it quickly flipped, and it was more of a mental health thing for young people that were finding it very, very difficult not attending games. And then, or they might have had bereavement in the family through COVID. And it was something to kind of lift their spirits a bit, and receiving a call from a player. And like, as I said, I put out a few tweets about it, like a few threads at the time, and they were received very, very, very well. So we just kept it up, and it was only meant to be a weekend of it, and it turned into about a week of it, I think. So and I probably could have went on. It's still, like, I know some of the players that have contacted those individuals have stayed in touch, and it's been yeah, it's just been really, really, it was really good. It was just something that, as I said, I couldn't fathom beforehand how well it was received.
I love that. As Alan asked that last question, I wasn't quite sure whether he was talking about the ringing people or the walk, because that in itself happened during COVID.
Yeah.
You decided you were going to walk from every single Dublin venue in the League of Ireland, right, a route through the whole lot of them. Why would you put that on yourself? Because that looked like an absolutely awesome experience. but a tough task at the same time.
Did you never see him playing games, Breifne? Like, he just never stopped running. So there's no bother to him walking, huh?
Well, I know all about long challenges and physical challenges, and to put yourself through that for a day when you're not used to that is a really, really tough task on the body.
Look,
How was the body at the end of that?
Yeah, I actually thought it would, as Alan said there, I thought it'd be a walk in the park because that's something that I can do. I can run all day long. So to walk 42 kilometers, I thought I'd get the cigars out. I thought it'd be easy. But I was in bits after that walk. For every muscle in my body. I remember I got out of my car when I got home and literally nearly had to crawl to the front door. I was in bits. So yeah, but that experience was something else as well. Again, you're not expecting the reaction that it did, and it just both goes to show that I suppose the League of Ireland family, that if anybody does something, that we all get it row in behind it. And yeah, that was a wonderful experience. It's not. I'm gonna probably do one more last one, because I think once you retire, your kind of profile dips massively. So if I could do one more big one before that happens, well, I think that would be a good one. So I'm probably before the end of the summer hoping to do another one. I don't know what that would be, but yeah, I'm getting my thinking cap on over the last number of weeks and trying to think of something. But the thing that it will be, it's probably going to involve not just Dublin, probably the whole of the country. So we'll see how that goes.
We look forward to that. If you need a place to stay in Sligo, Keane will put you up anyway. He'll reminisce about 09 and he'll reminisce about that. That'll be a great evening's entertainment. Why have you made such a really positive use of your platform across the various clubs that you've been involved in? What's been so special about that for you to actually generate
that? It's a good question. I don't know. I think it all rolls back to when I was in secondary school, when I was asked to go to Zambia. I was asked to go to Zambia. I was picked to go to Zambia, and I turned it down. And I turned it down because I wanted to go on trial to England. I went on trial at Millwall because that was a dream of mine. I always wanted to be a professional footballer, and I thought that if a chance like this came up, I couldn't turn it down. But at the same time, a chance to go to Zambia and work with children over there, a lot less fortunate myself, would have been a very unique opportunity. So I promised myself then that if the opportunity ever arose again, that I would do it. And then I suppose with the when it did happen, and the support that it got and the money that was raised, I was thinking to myself that there's a chance here that a lot more money could be raised by myself and other people within the league. But it hasn't always just been myself, Breifne. There's been like the PFAI have helped a lot. We've mentioned Brendan Clark. He does all the commentary, the artwork and the design for my posts. The amount of people that wanted to do the walk with me when we set it up, but couldn't because of COVID restrictions. So this isn't a one-man show. It's a case that like the things that I've done, I've always got help with, and I don't know if that's come across as much as it probably should. But it's certainly, as I said, it's certainly not a one-man show, and it's just something, as I said, that came to me when I was a teenager. That I always wanted to do. It's probably funny, if I had went on that trip, I mightn't have had the ambition maybe to do it as when I was older, So it's funny how the world works.
Yeah, I suppose finally we're talking tonight, Wednesday, between the two European games. Two games last night. Shamrock Rovers, unfortunately, out of the Champions League. They both progressed into the next stages of the conference. Tomorrow night, Bohs and Sligo, slightly tougher tasks ahead of both of them. Do you think either of them can make it through and join the other two sides?
Yeah, I've no doubt about it that the two teams have the quality to go through. I know Greg Bulger will be a huge loss to Sligo Rovers midfield. And that can't be underestimated either. It's going to be a huge loss because he has been probably the star, not just of Sligo, but probably of the Premier League. He's been brilliant. So he'll be a big loss. But having the return of Johnny Kenny, I saw that was announced by by Ocean FM Sport this evening that he's been called he's available to play, and John Mahon is still out, so that's another bit of bad news for Sligo. But on the form and on the way they played, the chances that they had, Jordan Gibson had 2 wonderful opportunities in the game. I do think that Sligo will have chances, and it's all about taking them. So yeah, I give them a bit of a chance. I think Bohs have a bigger chance.
Yeah.
I wasn't impressed with Starnan at all. And I think the likes of Dawson Devoy, Ross Tierney will have a huge game to play, because if they can rise to the occasion of playing at the Aviva, well, then I think Bohs will have already one foot in the next round. And that's just the only problem that I'd have. I've mentioned it on my own podcast about playing at a different venue. Some of these players are very, very young, and they're going in to play at an Aviva Stadium. And I know Alan and myself have both played there, and how difficult it is. I talked about visualization. I was a player that always visualized stuff in my head before the game, where I'll be sitting, where I'm going, all this type of stuff. The Bohs players won't have that. So yeah, that's just I think they might find it a little bit difficult if they don't rise to the occasion. But if they do, I can see them progressing, no problem.
Listen, we might leave it there. Thank you very much for giving us your time this evening. That podcast you mentioned, of course, LOI Arena. You'll find it on Twitter. You'll find it on the Arena website as well. The very best luck for the rest of the season. And I'm sure we'll be chatting to you sooner rather than later. Thanks for being on.
Thanks, Chris.
Cheers, Conan.
Thanks, Alan.
Conan Byrne there, Alan. As we've established, you've seen lots of each other over the years. I suppose he would have been an attacking player playing against you as a defender over the years. One of your favourite players to mark, or one that you were kind of aware of every time you come up against him?
No, thankfully I didn't have to come up against him too much, as in he was over the far side, so I was happy out, because he was one of them players that he just wouldn't stop running, and he was, he was the goals he used to score, the phenomenal. Remember the goal Bohs at the halfway line? Jesus, absolutely. He got some superb strikes. But look at all around nice guy. He's what he's done for the league, promotion of the league, and obviously his charity work is second to none. And as we spoke there about what he's done, you spoke to him about the walk and the setting up the chat for during COVID. That just turned out to be a huge success. And you know what, absolute League of Ireland legend.
Yeah, he talked about the team that's around him for initiatives like that, but he seems to get most of the focus at least. And I really like how he has used, let's be honest, it's a relatively small platform in the grand scheme of an Irish sport in the League of Ireland, but he's used it to massive effect. And I think he has a lot to give both players and clubs in terms of guidance on how they can really engage with the audience, with the supporters, with their communities, because he's just got an absolute lifetime of that work over the years, whether it was stuff he did in Zambia with Sporting Fingal or on his own since kind of going out with walk and other things you talked about. I think he's going to be a valuable asset to this league for many, many more years to come, despite what he says about his profile.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you hit the nail on the head there, communities. And as he said, he's retiring and he wants to get one last thing in, but I don't think he'll have a problem maybe when he's retired a couple of years, because he has a good name within the league. And but I think what he has done, others can look at for likes of charity. Use your profile, get out there while you can, and help others, and not just be, you do have a lot of time in your hands when you are a professional footballer, whether it be even a part-time footballer. People love seeing you get within the community, and they respect that because you are one of their own. And as we said, what Conan's done and bringing communities and stuff together is excellent.
Yeah, 100%. Best luck to Conan in his retirement and whatever the future might hold for him and his family over the next few years ahead. Moving forward, I suppose tomorrow evening, as we're talking, at least tonight, Sligo Rovers in action in Europe. Didn't go so well in Iceland. Bohs also faced Icelandic opposition. What are your thoughts? Do you echo Conan's thoughts, or maybe disagree with him in terms of that?
No, fully agree with Conan. I think Greg Bulger, I would be really, really confident for Sligo Rovers to qualify if Greg Bulger was available. It's just disappointing. He's been such a player for Rovers this year, and whether Liam plays Dave Cawley, whether he brings in Shane McCure, whether he starts the new guy, I don't know what Liam Buckley's going to go, but they definitely have a chance. I was impressed with their performance out there to an extent that they had a couple of chances, but for a lot of them players, that was their first opportunity in Europe, and it didn't faze them. Whether having not many fans in the ground helps, but they had some great opportunities, as Conan spoke about there. Jordan Gibson's one and that, but Sickner near the end to concede. But thankfully, the plus side, there's no away goals, which, I still fancy Rovers to score at home. But whether Bulger's loss will be key or not, Johnny Kinney coming back in, hopefully, will offer that bit of pace up top. As for Bohs, being in the Aviva, as Conan said, it's a big, big stadium. So I was wondering, why didn't they just keep it in Dalymount to see could they go through a big financial, it's a big financial reward if you do get through. Go to the Aviva to allow that amount of fans in could suit the opposition. Bigger pitch. It is a massive, massive pitch. A lot of young lads, as Conan said, but look, if you want to go through, you'll have to win these games, and I'm optimistic of both could go through, but as I said, the Aviva could be the sticking point for Bohs. Greg Bulger's loss to Rovers could be that one. It will remain to see tonight.
Yeah, I did. I was out and about in Carrick. I bumped into Niall Morahan's dad. We had a brief chat about the game tomorrow. Quietly confident is probably, or quietly optimistic maybe is the word I would say for his mood coming into the game. Best luck to everybody involved in the European clashes tomorrow. In terms of the domestic scene, of course, a full round of fixtures this weekend because the games have been moved to the European schedule. Friday night in the Premier Division, Derry City and Shamrock Rovers, Ryan McBride, Brandywell, while St. Pat's and Drogheda face each other in Richmond Park. Winners of either of those games will be top of the table by the end of the weekend. Dundalk and Finn Harps, they're in action on Saturday in Oriel Park, while Bohs and Longford and Waterford and Sligo will do battle at 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. Strange time nowadays for fixtures. It falls bang smack between the two European games should Bohs and Sligo both progress.
Yeah, definitely, and it's going to be could be a little bit of a fixture pile up as well, and it is difficult when you play a European game on a Thursday, and you do have to travel away. It is tough. It's tough going. You see the clubs in England complaining when they have a Europa League game on a Thursday, and they have a game on a Sunday, and these are top pros who are getting massages, probably coming home in the planes. Whereas, you have lads here. Look, it's difficult. It's a tough task on a small squads, but you're professional footballers. That's what you strive for, and that's what you have to do. And it's just getting the job done. But I think the game of the weekend is going to be Pats and Drogheda. I'm going to look into that. I think two good sides like playing football. And obviously Waterford and Sligo is going to have a really tough task with the way Waterford are playing at the minute. But as you said, touched on earlier, Breifne, the league, the Premier Division, it's been a long while since it was that close. And then you look at Dundalk, who've come into a bit of form, and Bohs are coming into a bit of form in the league. So it's going to make an interesting couple of weeks. And the results this weekend is going to be massive for the teams that are in Europe. If they can come out with wins, it will be a hell of a result.
Yeah, but for all the form Dundalk are showing, they're still equally distant from the relegation spot at the bottom of the table as they are from third place in the table, and that's a problem for domestically. We've seen how well they've adapted to European football. They could be in danger of missing out just because they can't compete at national level anymore.
Yeah, and that will take a massive, massive hit. And then obviously stuff coming out in the media that Derry City want to sign Patrick McElhinney. So there's an exodus there of all these players that have been there through the success. The whole course is starting to it's starting to disintegrate, which is sad to see. So it's a rebuilding process. As you said, if they don't get Europe with the wage budget and everything, it's going to be hard to attract players. You're going to have to make cuts, which only benefit the likes of the Bohs, likes of Shamrock Rovers, to pick up these players. So it's important that Vinnie Perth gets them back into domestic action. Yes, it's all great getting them through a round in Europe and getting that money, but you need to be making Europe next year.
100%. In the first division, then, of course, Shelbourne, they make the trip to Athlone. They're top of the table, they can put one hand almost on the title if they were to beat Athlone in Athlone on Friday. Bray Wanderers host Galway United, while Treaty and UC third and fourth in the table currently will do battle in Limerick. Wexford FC hosting Cork, two bottom sides of the division, while Cove and Cabinteely they'll also meet in Cove on Saturday evening. So any of those spring out at you? I think for me, Treaty and UCD probably looks like it's going to have a nice ring to it. Two very different styles of teams, a good clash nonetheless.
Yeah, it's good. You just look at UCD though. Sometimes the inconsistency that they have, which UCD turns up, that's the one. Like if the good UCD turns up, they're very good. Treaty, as I said, they surprised us all year. They're actually a really, really good side set up. I've watched them against Galway United 2 weeks back, and they're set up really, really well. They play some decent enough football too. But I think Shelbourne and Athlone, I don't think it'll be an easy one for Shelbourne in Athlone. But Shells have the quality. It's just, as I said, the league is a great league this year, and it's great to see.
Galway, Bray, of course, or Bray, Galway. That'll be a nice catch. Funny enough, if the league table ended today, we'd have our playoffs finals. Galway, Bray, Treaty, UCD, based on the league tables as they stand. So maybe premonition at the end of the year. The final thing before we wrap up this evening, Alan, is the FAI Cup, the first round draw. There's always a bit of excitement around this. People dreaming maybe of that sprint towards a European spot, or even the day out in the Aviva at the end of the season. It's thrown up a couple of nice ones. Anything spring out at you? We're not going to go through the whole draw. It's available all over the internet, really, if you Google it. Nice draws come in there. Treaty United be looking forward to the visit of Dundalk down to Martinfield. It's a nice draw.
Yeah, it's a nice draw. I actually didn't get to see the full draw myself, Breifne. I was out.
Go on, then. For your benefit, I'll go through it. Fairview Rangers versus Spin Harps. Wexford versus Cabinteely. Drogheda United versus Derry. That's be a top of the table clash for both sides in the Premier Division. Liffey Wanderers versus Cove. UCD versus Shells. Crumlin versus St. Marcus. Colester Carney versus Celtic. St. Kevin's Boys versus Kilnamana. Sligo Rovers versus Cork. College Corinthians versus Bohemians. Triple Bohs. Athlone Town versus Waterford. Treaty United versus Dundalk. Rovers versus Galway. Maynooth University Town versus Malahide United. St. Pat's Athletic versus Bray Wanderers. And Bangor versus Longford Town. I think I make that 4 all junior, maybe all non-league clashes. So there could be at least 4 teams from non-league in the second round of the cup, which starts to get interesting at that point.
Yes, it does. Yeah, and they can go on a wee run. Interesting there, actually. I didn't know Galway drew Shamrock Rovers, so that'll be a tasty tie as well. John Caulfield, we all know what he can do in the FAI Cup, so that'll be an interesting tie. And I suppose Drogheda and Derry. I didn't get a chance to see the draw. I was out at work, and I was out again today, so I actually didn't get a chance. And it's there's actually a few tasty ones in there, right? It'll be great for the non-league sides. I played in it once with Merview. We played for Merview United, and we played Ballymun, and I remember we won on penalties in the replay, and we got drawn against Derry City in the Brandywell, and the great Liam Coyle was playing up front, and I was 16, 17. I was in awe at him. I was like looking at him on TV, and this fella playing with a knee brace, and Gary Beckett, and that's what it's about for these non-league teams. These boys are watching these Shamrock Rovers players, are watching all these. They want to get to the next round. They're craving these draws, and I think it's great. I love the FAI Cup. It's brilliant for bringing the non-league teams in, and I like when there is non-league draws. So you get to see the next one in the next round. But obviously, the non-league teams are always looking to get the top teams, and it's going to be interesting.
No, absolutely. I remember my football career on my very, very, very best day was decidedly average at a very low standard. But as kids, we drew Galway United in the Connacht Cup with my local team here, Carrick Town, and we had a set of jerseys, and Alan Murphy and other names that played for Ireland in schoolboy football a week or two previously were all in our home pitch. Mad. We took the lead, went 1-0 up. We ended up getting hammered. I think we ended up losing 4-1 in the end. But we live for that. League player, the thought of getting some of these big names from the League of Ireland into your home ground, and you get on a football playing field. it's a nice draw, isn't it?
It is, but well, I bet you what happened there, Breifne. The whole community came out to cut the pitch, line the pitch, put the flags up, and it just for whatever that build up that week, you felt like pro footballers. You know, you felt like you're in awe of these boys coming, and you walk in, you're like, it brings the community together, it brings that buzz. And for lads that want to aspire, younger lads playing in them teams that want to aspire to play professional football or play in the League of Ireland, you come up and you go, right, I have to get to this standard. Wow, I didn't realize it was this high of a standard. And you feel that buzz, and then you start craving that. And I think it's great for the communities and great for the clubs, the local clubs. But the only side was that it's a pity about the fans, because it used to be a big money, 60-40 for the clubs. So I don't know what they've done this year, whether there's some sort of stuff there, because that's why you want to draw the likes of Shamrock Rovers, the Sligo Rovers, and that, you draw them away. You could get 2,000-3,000 at the game, and you're laughing. You're only a small little club, and that could do you for years. Buy loads of jerseys, nets, build a stand. So no, it is phenomenal, and it's great for the communities, and it's just the buzz that it brings.
They could sign old professionals like yourself, and you could get a deal out of it.
You could, but it reminds me so much of the League of Ireland teams playing in Europe. We're playing against these teams. That kind of buzz for us is for likes of them. They might never get the opportunity again, but no, I won't be dusting off my boots anyway. I won't be chasing any League of Ireland players around anymore.
Yeah, and of course, a lot of familiar names in some of those teams as well. I can't think of examples off the top of my head, but I know St. Moctus have a couple of League of Ireland players, former League of Ireland players in their ranks. Kilnamana, managed by Keith Foy, if I'm not mistaken, with a couple of other lads floating around, well known to League of Ireland fans. So not altogether this small little village perception that we're painting. There's some very, very talented players that for one reason or other are in those Leinster Senior League or Munster or junior sides.
Oh yeah, there's loads of lads that you go out and you see some really strong side. Some of them could still be playing in League of Ireland football, but just for work commitments or stuff like that they've decided to, I can't do that, and they continue playing the football. There's some great sides, and it's going to be interesting. And it's, as I said, the FAI Cup always brings up a few surprises.
Absolutely. Well, listen, there's no surprise that we have run out of time. Thank you so much to Conan Byrne for joining us. Great to have him on the show. One of my favorite characters and most inspirational people in the league, in my opinion, over the last few years. As I said, a bit of a genesis for why we started the platform at the start of this season. So, Alan, thank you so much for joining us, as always. We'll be back next week with Dean to chat about the fallout from Europe and maybe whatever European ties we are looking forward to next week. Alan, thanks very much for joining us again.
No problem, Breifne.